Hello and welcome to another session on Ways with Words. Let's continue with The House of My Childhood by Dilip Chitre. We are to do the second stanza. Begin. In the next stanza, that is the second stanza, he couldn't help but wonder why the birds became silent or they stopped crying after his grandmother's death. So where is he now? The poet is in the grandmother's or the ancestral house. He has come there after a long time. Okay, so he's in the city, he lives in the city now. He has come to visit his grandmother's or his ancestral home. He himself is old. Okay, he's ailing, he's old, and he has come to visit his grandmother's house, and he finds that the birds that used to sing when his grandmother was alive, he used to listen to the chirping or the singing of the birds every morning, but that has stopped, and he wonders why they have stopped singing. He also recalls this chirping of the birds when he was a child, and he recalls or he remembers or he thinks about the house which was full of life and vigor. Now it is silent, it is deserted, it's almost on the verge of destruction. Years after the grandmother's death, though he lives in the city, and in the hustle and bustle of the city life, certain times he thinks, he dreams of this house. Even though the city life, see, when we are away from the village, or when we are away from our home, our countryside home, and when we are busy with our life in a metropolitan city perhaps, the hustle and bustle, the dim and din of the city life can blur the memories of our past, the memories that we cherish, the memories of our childhood. But he says that even though the busy schedule of his busy lifestyle has erased some of the memories from his childhood, still certain memories, certain childhood memories are still fresh in his mind, and he can hear certain sounds and certain music even when he is far away in the city. So he's recalling. Now he is standing in the ancestral house, but he is thinking about or he's telling us that even though he lives in the city and he is still not haunted, you can't use the word haunted. He always thinks certain memories, the beautiful memories of his childhood sometimes comes to his mind, and they flash like a blurred picture. And this happens normally in the morning when he's away in the city. So he's thinking about or he's speaking about his ancestral house and the thoughts he has. Maybe it was these thoughts or the dreams that he had about his ancestral house that prompted him, or that made him feel like taking a visit or paying a visit to the ancestral house. That could be the reason that could be one reason as to why he came to this house. അതുകൊണ്ടായിരിക്കാം ചിലപ്പോൾ ഈ രാവിലത്തെ സമയങ്ങളിലാണ് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ ഈ വീടിനെ പറ്റിയിട്ട് ഓർത്തിരുന്നത് ദിലീപ് ചിത്ര, ദ പോയറ്റ്. ആൻഡ് ഈ ഓർമ്മകളായിരിക്കാം ചിലപ്പോൾ ഈ വീടിനെ പറ്റിയിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരുപാട് പ്രാവശ്യം ഓർത്തത് കൊണ്ടായിരിക്കാം he felt like coming and paying a visit to the ancestral house. Now that he is here, he sees the colorless cracks of the empty house. വീടാകെ പൊട്ടിപ്പൊളിഞ്ഞ ഒരു അവസ്ഥയിലാണ്, ആരും തന്നെ അവിടെ താമസിക്കുന്നില്ല. It's deserted, it's empty, nobody lives there. So that's why I said there's a theme of isolation, there's a theme of decay, there's a theme of destruction in it. Cracks. Okay, there are cracks in the house. The house is filled with, he sees those colorless cracks in the empty house. That it also is suggestive of old age. So you can also draw a parallel or a comparison with Dilip Chitre and the house, because even Dilip Chitre he's old now. He's not in his young years or his youth. He's old. So like the wrinkles that has formed on his face, you can see the cracks, the colorless cracks, the uneven skin tone on our face, right? When we are aged, when we are in our old age, our skin tone is all like there's a paleness in our face. So likewise, he also vividly portrays the house as, you know, having colorless cracks that shows desolation, that shows decay. Okay, it's on the verge of decay. And the birds are silent, as I told you. Nobody sings, nobody is around. This house, which was once upon a time full of life, full of vigor, full of children, full of relatives, full of energy, full of birds, singing of the birds, and nature at its best, is now empty. There's no one around, just emptiness. And words are also sharing. Even see, there's no one to communicate. There's no one to talk. So even the words are silent. His thoughts, so a lot of thoughts in his mind. മനസ്സിൽ ഒരുപാട് ചിന്തകൾ വരുന്നുണ്ട്, പക്ഷെ അതൊന്നും വാക്കുകളായി പുറത്തേക്ക് വരാനായിട്ട് ആരും തന്നെ ഇല്ല, അവിടെ സംസാരിക്കാനായിട്ട് ആരും തന്നെ ഇല്ല. So words too are sharing their silence. Even words are silent. They're keeping quiet. See, even words are personified. വാക്കുകളെ personify ചെയ്തിരിക്കുകയാണ്. തോട്ട്സിലൂടെയാണല്ലോ വേർഡ്സ് വരുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ തോട്ട്സ് ആർ there in his mind, but there are nobody to share. There is no one to share his thoughts. So therefore the words are also silent. And he's going through, perhaps he's looking at those pictures, the black and white pictures, or the sculptures that are kept there. അപ്പോൾ അവിടെ ഒന്നുമില്ല, ആരുമില്ല. ചിലപ്പോൾ ഒരു ബ്ലാക്ക് ആൻഡ് വൈറ്റ് പിക്ചേഴ്സ്, കുറച്ച് 2-3 പിക്ചറായിരിക്കാം അവിടെ ഉള്ളത്. ചില പഴയ മുത്തശ്ശി ഉപയോഗിച്ചിരുന്ന ആ സ്കൾപ്റ്റേഴ്സും ബ്രാസ് ഫിഗറൈൻസും അതൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കും അവിടെ ഇപ്പോഴും ഇവിടെ ഉള്ളത്. വേറെ ഒന്നും തന്നെ ആ വീട്ടിൽ ഇല്ല. സോ നോ വൺ ഇസ് ദെയർ ടു ടോക്ക് ടു, ദർ ഇസ് നോ വൺ ടു ഹിയർ, share their emotion. So the words, as I said, are being personified as being silent. They are keeping quiet. They're not saying anything. His thoughts are in his mind, but words are not uttered because there's nobody to talk to. വേറൊന്നുമില്ല, emptiness ആണ്, loneliness and emptiness of the house ആണ് അവിടെ കാണുന്നത്. Okay. So for a moment he tells us that he does think of his home. He is now standing next to the ancestral house, and the house is all empty. There is nobody there, no furniture, except the grindstone and the brass figurines. There could be some old photographs, as we discussed earlier, and it is all suggestive of what? It is all suggestive of emptiness and silence. So these brass figurines, the clustered, so apart from these photographs and brass figurines, nothing else is kept there. There is only silence. Okay, so that's with the second stanza of the poem. So second stanza, you will find desolation and emptiness. He is silently moving through the house. He's taking a look around the house, and he's looking at some of the old photographs and old brass figurines that are deserted or that nobody wants, which was once used by the grandmother, and there's nobody to talk to. So what you have here is the theme of emptiness, silence and desolation. So what is the figure of speech that is used in colorless cracks? If you come to that word, in the colorless cracks that comes before morning, what is the figure of speech used there? Colorless cracks, k, k. So what is that? Repetition of the consonants. What do you call it? That is alliteration. All right. So why do you think, the next question is, why do you think it is colorless? So if you while in the city, the memories of the house comes to him when in his dreams, when he dreams, and usually it comes early in the morning. So there is no light, and therefore it is colorless. That's one reason as to why he has used colorless cracks. So, but that is just a base meaning, okay? It's just a base meaning. When you say colorless cracks, the meaning of colorless, well, why do you think he has used the word colorless? Is because he dreams in the morning. See, if you read that, you will understand. In the colorless cracks that comes before morning. That's why they say it is because he dreams early in the morning, because of the house, he dreams of the house early in the morning. It is usually, there is no light, it's dark, and therefore it is colorless. But again, it is suggestive of more than that. It is suggestive of desolation, the colorless cracks. It's suggestive of old age. It's suggestive of blurred memory due to old age. So many things are associated with it, or you have multiple interpretations to that colorless cracks. Okay, but if you are asked this question, you can write that. You can write in this way. It is because he dreams early in the morning, and since it is morning, the colorless vision of the ancestral house comes to him. Okay. Now, what about if you are asked a question? Explain the lines. Words distribute their silence. The poet stands in the empty house, and he has come to visit the house after a very long time. It kept on haunting him. See, haunting does not mean traumatizing. Haunting can also be like you remember somebody, you really want to meet that person, or you really want to meet that particular place that you have been used to, especially memories, the childhood memories. You know, you can't go back to those, you cannot revive them, but you can only think about them you can only relish the thoughts of those memories. You cannot go back, right? You cannot go back to the past. So they are in a way haunting only. They are in a way traumatizing, but not in the usual sense of haunting or trauma. Okay, നമുക്ക് ഇഷ്ടത്തോടെയാണ് നമ്മളതിനെ ഓർക്കുന്നതെങ്കിലും നമുക്കൊരു ദുഃഖമുണ്ട്, അതിലോട്ട് തിരിച്ചു പോകാൻ പറ്റില്ല എന്നുള്ളതും. അതേപോലെ ഇറ്റ് കീപ്സ് കോളിങ് അസ്, especially our ancestral homes, our childhood memories. We know we can't go back, but it keeps coming to our mind. We think about ചിലരെ പറ്റി നമ്മൾ ഓർക്കാറുണ്ട്. ചിലപ്പോൾ അവർ മരിച്ചു പോയിട്ടുണ്ടാവാം. നമ്മുടെ മുത്തശ്ശിയായിരിക്കാം, മുത്തശ്ശനായിരിക്കാം. മരിച്ചു പോയ ആൾക്കാരെ പറ്റിയിട്ട് ഓർമ്മ, അവർ നമ്മൾക്ക് നൽകിയിട്ടുള്ള നല്ല ഓർമ്മകൾ കുറേ ഉണ്ട്. അത് ചെറിഷ് ചെയ്യുന്നു നമ്മൾ, അല്ലേ? അത് പക്ഷെ തിരിച്ച് നമുക്ക് പോകാനോ അവരെ തിരിച്ച് നമുക്ക് കൊണ്ടുവരാനോ പറ്റില്ല. അപ്പോൾ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എ കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് it is haunting in a way, it is traumatizing in a way, but it gives us pleasure also. So here also the ancestral house, which he loved the most, which gave him memorable experiences, memorable memories, keeps calling him to come and visit that particular place. So therefore he goes there, and he is so sad to find the house all desolated and destroyed. The only thing that he finds there is the grindstone, the brass figurines that were used by the grandmother. There is nobody there. No one to talk to. Nobody wants the brass figurines, or no one wants the grindstone that we had discussed in the previous video. There is full silence. Even the words are keeping silence. So that's what we are asked to explain. What is the meaning of the line, words distribute their silence? So this is the reason. There's no one to talk to. The house is empty. So there's no one to talk to. Even the words go silent. So the words are personified here, that they are even they are keeping quiet because there's no one to talk to, no one to communicate, and looks at the sculptured symbols, those brass figurines. It could also be a reference to the old discarded black and white photographs. പഴയ തലമുറകളുടെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ പഴയ ജനറേഷൻ്റെയൊക്കെ ഫോട്ടോഗ്രാഫ്സ് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ ജനറേഷനൊന്നും വേണ്ട. അവർ ചില സമയം അതൊക്കെ ചിലപ്പോൾ തട്ടുമ്പുറത്തൊക്കെ ആയിരിക്കും കിടക്കുന്നുണ്ടാവുക അല്ലേ. അപ്പോൾ black and white photographs which are deserted, which nobody wants now, are all kept there, or maybe they are hanging or somewhere there in the house. അതിനെയൊക്കെ നോക്കിയിട്ട് പക്ഷേ ആരുമില്ല അവിടെ, സംസാരിക്കാനായിട്ട് ആരും തന്നെ ഇല്ല. There's nothing but silence. This is the meaning of the lines. Okay, now let's move on to stanza 3. That is the concluding stanza. My grandmother's voice shivers on a bare branch. I toddle around the empty house. Spring and summer are both gone, leaving an elderly infant to explore the rooms of age. So I told you in the beginning itself, Chitra's words are very simple. It's easy to understand, but when you look into when you try to put together these words and make sense out of it, you will find that you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the poem. It is highly philosophical. So he continues to look at the house, and as he takes a gander, or he goes around the house, the writer feels that he could hear his grandmother's voice from the branch of a tree. Okay, that's because he is filled with his memory, so he can listen to his grandmother's voice as he used to when he was a child. The grandmother calling out to the grandchildren. The lovable grandmother, yes, who loved to make snacks, who was an epitome of love and affection. You will find that, or he feels that he could hear her voice from somewhere in the branch of a tree. But when he looks around, he sees nobody. The house is deserted. He knows that the house is deserted. Nobody lives there. He knows that his grandmother is not alive, but he feels like how could he possibly hear? So though his conscious or logical mind knows that it's just his feeling, it's just his memories, he feels that he should explore the house. He goes around to see if there's somebody there. The poet slowly brings in the theme of nostalgia. And we readers ourselves can see him toddling around like an elderly infant. Now look at that word, elderly infant. Elderly, what do you mean by elderly? Old person. Infant, a baby, 0 to 12 months. That's an infant, right? And then, of course, a toddler. There's another word, toddler. As he toddles. Now, who's a toddler? A toddler is a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old, one who just has learned to walk. നടക്കാൻ പഠിച്ചൊരു അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നടന്ന് തുടങ്ങിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു കുഞ്ഞു കുട്ടിയാണ്. ദാറ്റ്സ് എ ടോഡ്ലർ. An elderly infant. So both bring in that nostalgic, the theme of nostalgia. And he says that he toddles around. Now why do you think he's toddling around like an elderly infant? Again, what is the meaning of the word elderly infant? That's an oxymoron. What's the figure of speech used there? Oxymoron. Because two words joined together, two opposites coming together. All right, that's an oxymoron. When it comes in a line, it's a paradox, but when it comes together as two words together, it is an oxymoron. Okay, and like an elderly infant, so he's old, he's like an infant, he's hardly able to walk. He cannot walk as he used to when he was very young, in his youth. അതായത് ചെറുപ്പകാലത്ത് നടന്ന പോലെ അത്ര എനർജിയോടെ അല്ല ഇപ്പം നടക്കുന്നത്. ഒരു കൊച്ചു കുഞ്ഞ് നടക്കാൻ പഠിച്ചു തുടങ്ങുന്ന ഒരു കൊച്ചു കുഞ്ഞ് എങ്ങനെയാണ് നടക്കുന്നത്, ഇങ്ങനെ നടക്കില്ലേ, അതേപോലെ തന്നെയാണ് അദ്ദേഹവും നടക്കുന്നത്. ഹീസ് ഫൈൻഡിങ് ഇറ്റ് ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് ടു ക്യാരി ഹിംസെൽഫ് അറൗണ്ട്. ഹീസ് ഓൾഡ്. Okay, so that is suggestive of old age. And also he slowly brings in the theme of nostalgia through his grandmother's voice. So he hears the grandmother's voice and he knows that nobody is around, but still the logical mind knows that nobody is around, but still he wants to find out from where he heard that voice. So he goes around to explore if there is anybody inside the house. He slowly feels like a little boy he used to be when he was a small child. കൊച്ചു കുഞ്ഞായിരുന്ന സമയത്ത് എങ്ങനെയായിരുന്നു, മുത്തശ്ശി വിളിക്കുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഓടി മുത്തശ്ശിയോട് അടുത്തോട്ട് ഓടിയെത്തുന്ന ആ കൊച്ചു കുഞ്ഞിനെ പോലെ പെട്ടെന്ന് അതേപോലെ അങ്ങ് തോന്നുകയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ ഹീ വാക്സ് അറൗണ്ട് ജസ്റ്റ് ലൈക്ക് ദറ്റ് ജസ്റ്റ് ലൈക്ക് ദറ്റ് baby, or just like the infant who ran to his grandmother, he also toddles around that empty house. Okay, now you will also find another theme, that is a flux of time. Okay, he looks at time as a destroyer, as a monster, or as a destroyer, because she has ripped from him his childhood. Time has taken away. Time oru destroyer ആയിട്ടാണ് അവിടെ കാണുന്നത്. ടൈം അയാളിൽ നിന്നും നഷ്ടപ്പെടുത്തിയിട്ടുള്ളത് ആളുടെ ചൈൽഡ്ഹുഡാണ്. ചൈൽഡ്ഹുഡ് പോയി. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് വൈ യു ഹാവ് സ്പ്രിംഗ് ആൻഡ് സമ്മർ ആർ ബോത്ത് ഗോൺ എന്ന് പറയുന്ന വേറൊന്നുമില്ല. നൗ ഹീസ് ഇൻ ഹിസ് ഓൾഡ് ഏജ്. സ്പ്രിംഗ്, വാട്ട് ഈസ് എ സ്പ്രിംഗ് സീസൺ? സ്പ്രിംഗ് സീസൺ ചൈൽഡ്ഹുഡാണ്. സമ്മർ യൂത്ത് ആണ്. So he's past his middle ages, he's old now. Okay, so he brings in that flux of time. He says that both have taken the good things from me, both have taken my health, my all the happiness is all gone. The health and happiness that I used to enjoy is all gone from me because time has taken it from me. Now he is old, his youth is gone. Youth, as I said, is the summer, and spring his childhood. Both are taken away from him. This is suggestive that the poet is growing old. He is old and he is ailing. He is perhaps ആളുടെ ക്യാൻസറിൻ്റെ ഒക്കെ ആയിരിക്കാം ചെറുതായിട്ട് സജസ്റ്റീവായിട്ട് കൊണ്ടുവരുന്നത്. He died of cancer. So this is, and that is another reason why he is not able to walk like a healthy person. He's walking, he's toddling like an elderly infant around that house. Okay, thus the poem ends mournfully, bringing in the theme of death, decay and destruction. So you will find that you will find in the towards the end of the concluding part, or towards the concluding part of the poem, he like an old like a small infant with an unsteady step, he moves. He is about to fall, and his movement is very slow because he is old. He moves around the house to take back or revive the lost ages or the past, the memories. He's trying to revive his memories. Thus, you will find that the poem ends with a sad tone. Okay, and as I said, the figure of speech used here in this third stanza, you will find elderly infant, which is an oxymoron. And the question that can be asked, if you are asked a question, the significance of the word toddle in the poem. Toddle, what do you mean by toddle? Toddle means to move unsteadily with short steps like a small child. Infants or babies, that is 12 months or 1 to 2 years, they are toddle, they are called toddlers. But the poet is now an elderly person, an old person, and he moves around his child, or he has come to his childhood house or his ancestral house, and he is reminded of his childhood days. So when his childhood days when he was a toddler, now he walks in the room just like he had walked in the past, just like he had when he was a toddler or when he was a baby. And whenever his grandmother used to call him, he would run to his grandmother, toddle to his grandmother. So just like that, he walks around, he toddles around the ancestral house, and in a way he's trying to revive relive or revive the past memories. Okay. Another question that is likely to be asked would be the season. What does the poet invoke, or why does the poet invoke the seasons of spring and summer? Now the reason is the poet invokes the seasons of spring and summer because they show the passage of time. Years have gone by, time has ripped from his the youth, the summer, and both, not just summer, the spring and summer is both ripped or taken away from him. He has lost both his childhood and his youth because he is now old. Okay, so through this he tries to tell the readers about his own old age, his problems, his health issues, that he's ailing. He also brings in the subject of decay and death, and that can be seen through when he gives or when he compares with not compares, you can see it as a parallel to the ancestral house. He brings both through the ancestral house you will find death, the theme of death and decay, not just that of the past, not just that of the ancestral house, but also of human beings as such. So if you look at Dilip Chitre, you will find the theme of death, you will find the theme of decay and as emptiness, loneliness, nostalgia. You will find a longing for the past life, meaning past life in the sense a longing for the time when life was more simple, life was not completely enwrapped by this technology. Now we are living in a high-tech world. Okay, so thank you, and that's it for now. So thank you, and keep safe.